to turn off your video camera.
Okay, so I'll keep admitting people if they join in, but why don't we go ahead and get started? So welcome everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us for today's webinar on preparing your career for the recession with career coach Tomoko Ha. So my name is Haruka Raudabush. I'm the Senior Programs Manager at the Japanese Cultural and Community Center of Northern California. And this webinar is co-sponsored by the Center today, as well as Nakayoshi Young Professionals and the Japanese American Citizens League's Young Professionals Caucus. So why don't we just go ahead and start with a quick introduction of these organizations. And why don't we start with Nakayoshi Young Professionals. So we do have a representative on the call today, Steven Santamaria. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and Nakayoshi?
Sure. My name is Steven Santamaria. I'm a secretary or the secretary at Nakayoshi. And really quick about the organization, it's a community development organization for professionals, mainly in their 20s and 30s, though we welcome all age groups. We provide opportunities to network, socialize, and give back within the Japanese American and Asian Pacific American community in the Bay Area. And so what's great is that you can choose your level of involvement with us. So you can be what's called a super volunteer, or just join us for happy hour. Any level of involvement is good with us. And Nakayoshi is a program of the San Francisco JCL, as well as part of the JCL Young Professionals Caucus. So it's free for everybody, and we welcome you to join Nakayoshi.
Great. Thanks, Stephen. And then just to expand upon what the Japanese Cultural and Community Center of Northern California is, it's fairly, I guess, implicit in the name of the organization, but we're a nonprofit community center based in San Francisco's Japantown, where normally we're open 7 days a week, but obviously with COVID-19, we've had to close our doors and sort of pivot to offer some other types of activities and events online instead. So this webinar today is among those program offerings where we've adjusted and figured out a way to still be of service to the community. And in general, we service all age groups from toddlers through senior citizens with various recreational and social programs. And beyond that, our other community co-sponsor of this webinar today is the Japanese American Citizens League. And I am actually the National Vice President of Membership of the JACL. The JACL is the nation's oldest and largest national civil rights organization with an APIA focus. So it was established in 1929, and one of the major milestones of that organization is its role in achieving redress and reparations for the Japanese American community from its World War II incarceration. But today the JCL is still active in many different chapters throughout the country and advocates for the civil rights of all communities. And so this program today, this webinar, we are all very concerned with what's happening in the world today with COVID-19, and in particular, its lasting effects on our country and society. We're going to feel it not just, through the shelter-in-place restrictions that we're all living under, but also the economic impact of the shutdown. So I just saw the headlines yesterday showing that, we're at the worst levels of unemployment in this country since the Great Depression at over 14%. We've lost over 20.5 million jobs in this country. And so that is going to affect people around us, if not ourselves. And so, it really made us concerned about not just ourselves, but our community around us. And we wanted to find a way that we could provide some information that would be useful to all of you to help your own careers and your situations in the face of these challenges ahead of us. And so, as it turns out, Tomoko, our presenter today, is a career coach that can speak not only of what can be useful and helpful as far as tips and strategies of how to mitigate the economic downturn, but also, she can speak from experience as a member of our community as well, and sort of the nuances in our experience that might be a little bit more specific to what we have to face as Asian Americans in the workforce as well. And I guess full disclosure, Tomoko is actually my older sister too, so it's kind of a family affair today to have her on. But I'm really pleased to that she could help us out and join us today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tomoko to introduce herself and her company, TKO Consulting, and present the rest of the information to you all. So once again, thanks for joining us today. And also, most of you guys, if you can, please keep yourselves on mute unless you have a question to ask. We will be monitoring the chat box on this call. So if you do have a question, you can either try entering it into the chat or using the hand-raising function on Zoom. And Stephen and I will be monitoring that to make sure that we can catch you if you do have a question, and we can ask Tomoko to take a pause and address your question. But for now, Tomoko, please go ahead.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you all for having me, and welcome to this webinar. I would like to thank Nakayoshi Young Professionals, the JCCCNC, I hope I said it right,
Yep.
and the Japanese American Citizens League for having me, and also the support from the San Francisco Japantown community. I also want to thank my brother Haruka and also the wonderful Stephen Santa Maria for helping out today for this webinar. So I want to let you all know, for those of you who have lost your jobs or are worried about job security, you are not alone. We are in a really difficult point in our times here, especially what Haruka said. The unemployment rate is something that we've noticed from the Great Depression. So we're here today to help you with any points of your career path, and also where you are at your lives, whether you still have jobs or if you're looking. So I want to let you know we've all been there at some point. I've been there. I remember in the 2008-2009 recession. Raise your hand if you remember the 2008-2009 recession. And Stephen will let us know. Okay, so Haruka is one of those that raised his hands. So I want to let you know, in 2008-2009, I was also one of those people that was laid off. And within 10 business days, based on all the things I'm going to share with you today, has led me, within 10 business days, I was able to get 3 different job offers. And so I want to let you know, even though we are in the midst of financial tough times, that there are still places that are hiring. It might be fewer, but there's still some out there. It depends on what industry and also what areas that are in high demand right now. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself here. So I have a background in serving the public, but I also worked with a lot of different workforce sectors. So growing up, I really didn't know what I wanted to be. And I was introduced to a lot of different roles, like becoming a doctor, a lawyer, you know, those some of those positions that are oftentimes introduced in our Asian Pacific Islander community. And I wanted to be someone who helps people, but the only position, especially in high school, middle school, that I knew of that helped people were teachers. And I was a terrible student back then. So I felt really lost. And so when I went off to college, right, I actually majored in history and international relations. And I know that there's some people around that ask, well, what are you going to do with a liberal arts major? You're not going to make a whole lot of money out of it. And, but I continued my studies, and actually that was where I learned more about serving our community and how important it was, even though I didn't really see a lot of people that looked like me that were interested in that field back then. So I just continued. And I also took part in campus life at Chico State, where I got involved with a lot of community service organizations. So I knew that was my calling. So I thought I was going to become a social worker. So, you know, I ended up serving in different public sectors, especially in education and social services and nonprofit. And when I joined the AmeriCorps program, I realized that I actually like raising money and increasing community engagement. So that's what I've been doing. So throughout the whole career, I've been serving in different places in the public sector, in K-12 education, in in the colleges and university settings, in nonprofits and social services. So eventually I became a college administrator. So I was the former director of campus life at Laney College in Oakland, and also the director of a program called Asian Pacific American Student Success, which was also at Laney College in Oakland. And I was responsible in those roles to help to really support student retention and graduation rates for thousands of students. And our campus in Laney was one of the largest campuses in Oakland. So fast forward, I started thinking about what was it that I really wanted to do in life, and I know that I'm two things that I really enjoy. I enjoy creating robust programs that really serve communities and also helping people grow. And those are two things I decided to focus on. So 4 years ago, I took a leap of faith and I decided to start my own consulting and coaching business. And for some people, that could have been seen as really reckless and risky, which is not something that is often encouraged in our Asian and Pacific Islander community. And some people thought I was nuts for doing this. But I've been doing this for 4 years. I love it. So I continue to support all these different programs and around the state, especially in the public sector, with creating really wonderful programs. Some of the places I work with is Evergreen Valley College in San Jose. And I also worked with Catholic Charities Santa Clara County. I worked with UC Berkeley Cal Community with different organizations there. And I mean, if you want to know more, you can always contact me. And also with career coaching and consulting, some of my services really include helping people figure out what they're meant for and also where that they belong in the workforce. And some of my popular services is with resume building. So one of them, it could be for me to help review their resume and really provide them what's really needed to help them get to the next step. And I'm also a professional resume writer, so I write that. And I help with mock interviews and LinkedIn online branding and just helping people look good, both on paper and in person. Actually, and also online. And we're going to talk a lot more about that. So if you have more questions or you need help from me, you could contact me and I'll give you my contact information later. All right, so I know today.
Sorry, before we go on, I noticed earlier, Jeremy, you had your hand up. Did you have a question real quick?
No, I was just responding to the prompt to raise your hand.
Okay.
Okay, so we have another person that remember the 2008-2009 recession. Okay, those were some tough times back then. All right, well, thank you. So today, I know a lot of you are looking forward to learning different things that's going to help with career success. And so I'm going to address things that are relevant for college students, for those that just graduate early in their careers, and even for those that are already really well established. And if there are some executives in there and the stuff that you've been doing that I've been sharing with you, it just validates what you're doing right. And for educators that are out there, these are some tools that you could share with your students, because I know us as educators, we want our students to succeed in life. So we're going to focus on all 4 of these areas. I'm not going to go too deep in detail with all those 4 areas. This is more of a snapshot of what you could do quickly and immediately where you could see results. I know in the future, if it's interested, that we could go into a deeper dive in these areas. So, but today, these are quick snapshots that are useful and helpful. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is building your signature style. What are you known for? What's your reputation? And that's actually the #1 thing that I always address with my clients. And it's actually a really tough one. But if you can nail that, that's going to help with all the other areas. The second thing we're going to talk about is creating champions and your own board of advisors and your support network, especially these days with COVID-19 and whenever there's scarcity of jobs. you're going to have to rely on your network and your relationships. And when I say relationships, these are key strategic relationships that's going to get you to your goals. So I'll share more what that means. But I know for some of you who have seen my videos on social media, some of you have heard me say, if you're applying to all these different jobs and you don't know the people in that company or in the industry, it's going to be probably too late, because oftentimes in these different companies, they often have someone in mind that they've already groomed to fill those positions even before the job posting is up. So this is where we're going to talk more about how to cultivate really powerful relationships around you and different kinds. So a third one we're going to talk about is also building your credibility and visibility. So someone who used to be a manager myself, I sometimes can't, regretfully, I can't remember everything that every one of my staff has done that has really contributed, but I did try. But it's really up to you to showcase your talents. And one of the best ways to do it is, again, having people who's a support network that could really champion for you and can share your great work, or you can even have it posted online in a way that really presents you well and not in an obnoxious way. So I'll share with you how to do it effectively. And then we're going to talk about building an effective online application. So it's really about resumes, and I'll just give you really quick tips that you could do immediately. Okay, so are there other things that you are looking forward to learning about today? If you want to put in your chat box, feel free. And you know what? I'm going to go back so people can review those. Did anyone share yet? Okay, someone asked how to weigh the cost of education benefits during the economic downturn. That's a really good question. One of the things I could share really quickly about how to weigh the cost of education with benefits during economic downturn. I think this is a question that's going to be different for everybody. I think it depends on your own financial situation, but one of the things that I really recommend is for you to look at some of the forecasting, industry forecasting, what areas that you want to go into if you're pursuing an education in a certain field. And also, but it's more so not just you trying to fit into the industry, but what works with you. What are your own your skill sets and your strengths? So that's going to be needed in the different industries. So that's something that if you want to come talk to me, you're welcome to do that in person. And also someone asked skills for applying different sectors, government, nonprofit, especially in the recession. We'll talk a little bit about that too. I'll give some examples of some excellent people in our community and what they're known for and what their skills are that really makes them stand out. All right, those are really good questions. All right. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is your signature style. Okay, so oftentimes in our Asian Pacific Islander community, we're taught to blend in, right? To not stand out, to make sure that we have the right answers. You don't want to be wrong in any way. So you want to make sure that you don't stick out in any way that's going to bring embarrassment or be hazukashi, being embarrassing for you and your family, because I know that's really deep-seated in our Asian community. But I want to tell you this, you know, those that really stand out and especially who are remembered for how they bring value of their skills or just for them being you, right? They're going to be remembered. And also oftentimes when we have interviews, or because this today, a lot of our hiring process is relationship based, they're going to really think about who the top 3 people they have in mind that they want to bring to their team. So it's really about being memorable and standing out. And I know that's a lot easier said than done. So I'll just give you some examples. So here's some 3 questions you want to ask yourself. What makes you stand out in your industry? What are you known for? And what do people say about you, especially when you're not around? All right. And I know these are really tough questions and you don't have to answer it right away, but you know, some of my clients are also politicians and executives, and they're also, you know, they also have, this makes them think a lot too. So these aren't easy questions, but if you're able to nail it down, that's going to really help you. And so I know some people say, well, why do you have a snow monkey on here, right? So, and this photo actually stood out to me. When we think of monkeys, usually we think of them like being in warm weather and being pretty hostile towards humans. But when we see snow monkeys, you know, in Japan, they're in cold weather, and you have seen photos of people dipping in the hot springs with them. I'm not sure, I don't think they're allowed to do that anymore, but we've seen photos. So they're pretty comfortable around humans, and they've also have been creating a unique experience for people that go to these snowy areas in Japan. And so this is also going back to what's your signature style? How do you create a positive experience for people around you that creates value? And I'm going to give you some examples of some of these people and what they're known for and what people will say about them. And I want to let you know this. You don't have to be like the top person, like going to like Harvard and like, I don't know, like excelling in every single talent and skills in the industry, but focus more on what you're good at, what you excel in. Don't compare yourself to other people, because you are you. And thing is, being different is a great thing, especially if it represents you well and if you know who the audience is. So I'm going to share with you 3 different professionals from 3 different backgrounds and points in their lives. So I want to showcase Brandon and Orie, and I think he's on the call today. So Brandon, thank you for being here. And so I have known Brandon for about, I don't know, more than 10 years. I met him when he was a college student. And what I remember back then very distinctly was how he is able to bring a really large following. He was in charge, he was leading a taiko group at UC Berkeley. And I went to one of his concerts because I saw it on social media to invite people. So I came, and I know I was 30 minutes late and I couldn't even find a seat. And it seems like most of the people in that room were invited by Brandon. And so that really stood out to me. So fast forward many years later, I'm actually working with Brandon. Evergreen Valley College is one of my clients here. And one thing, so here's some things that really stands out about Brandon. So Brandon is also continues to bring a large following to his programs. People want to be part of his programs because he's just not just very kind, but he has this really positive, warm attitude that makes people feel included and involved. And not only that, he is also an excellent project manager. So he's been bringing all these wonderful programs to this campus, but not just the campus, also to our communities in the Bay Area. So, so that's what really stands out. And also he's really good at figuring out technology, which for me, I'm not as good at, but I know he is. So he's been making even my programming, especially with COVID-19, with the webinars, just run smoothly. So these are some examples what people say about Brandon when he's not in the room. So I want to also introduce Tan Bui. Tan Bui is a student, and she is a computer science major. And I know that she's probably transferring to a 4-year institution in the fall. I met Tan when she was fresh out of high school, maybe her 2nd semester. But the thing that I really noticed about Tan is when we think of leadership, we don't need people to be speaking out all the time, right? There are people who are very effective who are on the quieter side, and we need more people like that. So the thing about Tan is she's on the quieter side, but she's very effective. She's someone who who can like create spreadsheets. She uses her technology skills that really create programs. She's a student ambassador and she also works for Brandon. And she is someone who really takes charge in things, and she uses her technology skills. But here's also another thing that stands out. She's an excellent project manager. So if she's going into the engineering field, what people are looking for is more than just HTML and Python and computer languages. They're looking for people who know how to manage projects, people, and budget. And she has that experience already at age 20. And she is also not afraid of getting mentors. So this is what people say about her and how effective that she is. And then I want to introduce Tomoko Wong. Tomoko Wong is a nonprofit executive. She has led so many different projects and also community organizations that have made such a huge impact on even the national level. People all over the nation know her. I go to Washington, D.C., people know her name. I know in New York, people know her. LA, people know her because she has built a reputation all these years of collaborating with the community. And many of us, we could never say no to Tomoko. She's someone who is really exceptional at bringing in money and also community engagement to all the projects that she works on. And this is something that she really loves. And she does this even in her volunteering time. So when people see her, she just projects a really warm energy about her, and she has a lot of really good energy. So that's what people think of her, but she's a lot more than that. So these are just some examples. And another thing about Tomoko is about raising money. You know, in the Asian and Pacific Islander community, especially like I'm coming from the Japanese background, like how it's hazukashi or embarrassing and shameful to ask for money, beg for money. But thing is, that's actually a really important skill to have, and Tomoko definitely has that. So I hope that helps give examples of what are you known for. So focus on your skill set and some great things that you've been doing the past year, 5 years. So I want to transition here, and I want to talk about what hiring managers look for. And these are some areas that people are going to perk up really quickly when they see this on your resume or if they hear about you. So number one, they love people who are able to bring in money or resources to the organization. So, you know, that's in all different sectors. Someone who could bring in funding or sources that are bringing additional funding. And they're also looking for people who can help save companies money and how you could demonstrate, how you could build a reputation for that. And they're looking for people with technology skills, but not just technology skills, but people who could communicate different products and different systems, especially to non-tech people, and the way that it's going to impact their organization. So they're looking for people who can really communicate their technology skills, at the same time be able to execute them. And then also they're looking for people who could raise organizations' visibility and create large followings. And that could be through different channels. I know that social media is big, but it's also through word of mouth or the way that people are able to present the organizations. They're also looking for really great project managers, someone who can lead teams and lead projects that consistently exceeds company goals or expectations. So I'm not saying that you have to have all 5 of these because I definitely don't. I know people can test my questionable technical skills, but you know, if you have one of these, that's something that people are going to really pay attention to and focus on those. So here are other things that hiring managers are looking for. They're looking for people who can make them look good, make your bosses look good. If you make the boss look good, you look good, right? Or make the boss and the organization look good, you look good. Also, don't make the job of the boss harder than it already needs to be. So you want to be someone who's really proactive and takes initiative within the parameters of what is possible and appropriate without violating things. And also, third one is you want to also let your boss know or people know when there's some issues that are coming up and then come up with solutions. So you want to be able to be someone who always serves in the best interest of the company and also the organization, and to protect its image. So they're really looking for those, and oftentimes they don't share that. And you got to remember that bosses are humans too. We have feelings. And this is one thing I've also recognized. They really love people who are emotionally supportive of them too. You got to remember that we have feelings too. And that's also really important, but not just emotionally supportive of their bosses, but also to everyone around them. So stay positive, be encouraging, be supportive. All right, let's go to the next one. So when I say be positive, these days with COVID-19, and actually even without it, you know, just continue making a good impression, because it's not just during your job search, it's even throughout your whole career. How do people see you about your rep? This is how you continue your reputation, right? So you see an image on the right, and then you see someone on the left. What kind of energy are they projecting? Okay, if anyone wants to put in the chat box, that would be great. So say that you have a choice of going to either one of the coworkers for help. Which one are you going to want to go to? And so you see the one on the right. Okay, if you're someone that's going to a doctor's office, or you know, that you need to ask a question, you're probably going to want to go to someone that's open, that's friendly, that's welcoming towards you. Because the one on the left, especially if you work in a customer service based position, you just don't look like you're very welcoming, even welcoming for to say hello, right? Here, let me go back. Welcoming to go back, because you don't have to be. So this is the energy. How do people perceive you, right? So the one on the left, it looks like you don't, you're not really welcoming people. And I want to share this with you. You're not just representing yourself with how you interface with people, you're also representing the company. And when you're in Zoom meetings, I want to, your image is probably going to be a lot more scrutinized when you're on video with how you use your body language, and also the image that you present that shows that you're engaged and that you're paying attention to people and what they have to say. I saw there was a chat box with comments on there. Does anyone, Stephen, did anyone say anything?
Sure. So a few folks have chimed in about what they see on the photographs. So on the left, there's notion that this person brooding or closed or introverted or mysterious, and on the right they seem more positive, open, extroverted. Okay.
So I want to let you know that you know, you could still be introverted and still be the person on the right. I want to let you know that. And you could still be extroverted and be a person on the left. You could be having a really bad day and still look like that. So it's really up to the person that's perceiving you. Anyone else, Stephen? Did anyone else say anything?
No, that's it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So when you're on a Zoom call and you see these three images, so people don't just see like what you're dressed, but also your facial features and the energy that you give out. So what do you notice about these three? And you could use your chat box for this. Okay, so a lot of you had some good insight. So you could be a well-dressed person, and you have that, when you look closed off like the guy on the left, you may not look very welcoming. right? And, or you may not even be interested in what you might have to say to him. So that could be one impression, or it could be like he's someone who may look like a very important person or someone who's thinking really hard. So, you know, each person has a very different perception based on the person's body language. The one in the middle, say that you're going to a hospital, right? And then you see someone looking like that in a front desk medical assistant position, right? Office position. So when we think of hospitals, we think of clean, we think of purity, you know, we think of, and we think of people there having good hygiene and be a little bit more conscious of their health. And so when you see this guy here, he just doesn't really give off, he doesn't look like he's really happy to see you, right? And then also, he might not look like he put in effort, but say if you were in the music industry or other places, he might fit in better there. So it depends on what industry you're in. And you see the guy on the right and see him smiling. Of course, if you turn more towards you, he might have a more open stance, especially, and you want to think about Zoom. With Zoom, I highly recommend people keep their video cameras on when they are in meetings. When you do that, you're connecting more with whoever's facilitating meetings, and also you're giving your presence. So it just also shows that you're a little bit more invested. So I highly recommend that. And I know that if you don't like the environment that you're in, and you don't want to show like bunch of piles of clothes behind you or an unmade bed, or some of us may have kids and we might have kids in the background doing, I don't know what. You know, we have people that put virtual backgrounds on their Zoom. So that could be really helpful. Also, another thing about people remembering you over Zoom is people can see you from probably the top of your head to your middle of your torso, right? So you probably, if you're someone who has been well groomed in the office and then you're constantly now showing up in your Zoom meetings, look like you just rolled out of bed, some people may actually think that you may not be taking your job as seriously. And you might actually be scaring some of your bosses, thinking that you might actually be meeting potential clients. If you're in the service in a customer service industry, that you might be showing up like that, because that's also you not just representing yourself, but also representing the company. So you want to also present your best self forward. Also the mute button. You're going to want to continue being on mute if you're not speaking, especially during division meetings. There are times when, I remember one meeting, I was with 29 other people and I sneezed and I didn't have the mute button on, and it scared everyone because my sneezes tend to be pretty loud, right? And so they remembered me, and obviously I made a little bit of distraction. And I know sometimes if some of you have kids, I have a 2-year-old, right? And there are times when he throws a tantrum. I mean, COVID-19 is hard. Shelter in place is hard, right? I had to mute myself. And there were times when I had to even turn off the camera, but I also had a profile photo of myself on when I have the camera off. And I had to take care of him, even though I could still listen to the meeting and still be engaged. Sometimes I would chat on there. And the thing is, there is no shame when your kid is acting out on that. And I want, especially our Asian Pacific Islander moms out there, to realize it's okay. You know, we're all in it. And at most, it probably would make many people in the room laugh. I stopped apologizing for it because it is what it is. And there were times when I remember last week, I was in a meeting with a bunch of board members and executive director working on a project. And all of a sudden, my son jumps on my head while I was talking. So, you know, and sometimes that happens. And all it did was it made the people in the room laugh, you know, so. And of course, eventually I had to turn the camera off for a little bit while I had to take care of him. So I just want to let you know to present your best self. But I know when you have kids sometimes, you know, it's normal. Many of us have kids. All right. Here's another thing also about Zoom, about building a reputation. You want to be someone, when you have the video camera on, which I actually highly recommend that you keep doing that, people can also see what you're doing during the meetings. I remember there was a webinar that I was part of, or a Zoom chat discussion, and there was this guy there that was on his bed that was unmade. He was wearing sweats, but he was scrolling on his cell phone while the video screen was showing him doing that. And I just remember I just kept looking at him. And thing is, when you show that, it's like you're not really invested in the person that's speaking, and the person that was talking was actually a marketing mogul, and he was giving this group discussion for free advice for someone like that. And I know in division meetings, I do see people, sometimes they're probably working and they're pretending to be listening, but even when you're not looking at the screen, people who are leading these meetings, they take notice. So, but when I lead meetings, I always especially notice those who are continuously making eye contact with me on the screen, or nodding their head and showing engagement. So if you're a college student and you're looking for a letter of recommendation from your college professor, I recommend, and you're in these Zoom classes, I recommend you keep your video on and that you show that you're paying attention. Because if you're watching TV, even while you're muted on the Zoom screen, people know whether or not that you're paying attention, or even if you look really bored, people can notice. So we tend to be ones that focus on those that are also really engaged and remember them. That's also another way to be memorable. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so these are two things. You don't have to answer it right away, but I want to let you know your reputation doesn't last just within your last job. It's continuous. I still work with people that I worked with 10, 15 years ago. All right, so it's all about relationships. And you never know who's friends with who have strong relationships with whom. So you never want to badmouth your boss or people around, and people have actually gotten in trouble with that when they post it on social media. So you want to also make sure everything that you touch is on a positive note, even if things get difficult. And if you have situations, just contact me and we could talk more, because I know it's a little bit more complicated than being said. Did we have anyone in the chat box say anything?
We had a few comments
Okay.
from the last slide, identifying, varying levels of distractedness, boredom, the levels of professionalism. The one on the right seems more approachable, according to one commenter. One interesting comment was context, in that the one in the middle may seem appropriate for Instagram, but not necessarily for LinkedIn. Yep.
Yeah, so it really depends on who your audience is. And it's all about perception and what you want to represent out there. All right. These are really great comments for everyone. So I want to go on and talk about, so aside from building a reputation, also part of building a reputation is also about your relationships. So I want to ask people this: why is networking and building connections important for career success? So I'll give you a couple minutes for you to fill it out in your chat box. Oh, people are very active on this. Okay, so someone said that you actually talking to someone, that when you're actually talking to someone, you convey a lot more than you can with the resume and cover letter, which is true. And then someone said you may get heads up about a job that's not even posted publicly yet, which is really true. And then someone here said future, when you need future recommendations, many times you need to hear about a position before it's even posted or to be considered. Yeah, it's true. And someone also said it's great to have mentors and folks give advice in an industry you're interested in or pursuing. And which is true, especially especially with people who can speak highly of you, especially for if you're looking to get a promotion. Oh, and someone said internal hires and referrals are always best when it comes to candidates that's applying. Someone said networking helps you get introduced to hiring managers of companies, applying directly to companies as oh, okay. Okay, someone from Nakayoshi said, people I had met through volunteering helped me a ton during my last job hunt. I got interviews at Uber, YouTube, through them. All right, and someone gave them a reference from these companies. Yeah, so all of you seem to have a really good understanding. So I know people say, well, how do you find people like that? You know, how do you find network? So where have some of you found mentors or champions? So I want to tell you a little bit about the difference between a mentor and a champion. So a mentor is someone who is able to share their experiences and also let them know what worked for them. So they might be someone that's in a field that you're looking to transition in, or also someone who can give you pointers on how to get a promotion or get like a full-time position. So the difference between a mentor and a champion is someone who's also really well connected and have influence and also have hiring power and have peers who are in these hiring positions, who can really play you up and speak up for you and play a big influence in your ability to getting hired. So those are two really important things. And some of these people who are champions make really effective references, and also people who can introduce you to people who they feel that you're going to connect well with. So I highly recommend people finding mentors and champions, because sometimes when you're with people who, because there are going to be a lot of people that want to support you, and then there are also those who can be supportive in your support network who can tell you about different companies that are hiring. The great thing about mentor is they could guide you into what you might need to do, but champion can also be a mentor, can also play you up with the right people. And that's actually mentors and champions are especially important for us in the Asian and Pacific Islander community. When I work with many of my clients, those two areas seem to be lacking. And I know some people ask, well, how do you find these people? Actually, how do you find some of these people? I would like to know in the chat box.
I think that's precisely the question one of our listeners are asking. How do you find, how do you find a mentor? They're asking for your help on that.
Okay, all right, that's okay. I'm glad that we're getting to that. All right, so the best way, because really like finding mentors and champions, it's not like it's a formal thing. It happens organically. So I know could be really hard for some of us, especially for some of us who have had to figure things out on our own. I know in our Asian community, and actually many minority communities, asking for help is really hard. And for some of us who do it, it could be perceived as shameful, like you're stupid, why can't you figure that out? Or you don't know how to do that. And I know that makes, that makes it really difficult for some of us to really acknowledge where we need help with, because we have gotten shame about that, whether it's from family members, from our peers, from other people in their community. So the great place to start are family and friends who know you Other places you can find people in your workplace. And it's not like saying, hey, can you mentor me? But it's for you to come up and start asking what you're interested in doing, where you're going, what your goals are, when people know that. And also, if you're part of different associations like Nakayoshi, I know JCL, there are a lot of great people that have been in different professions that are there. You might be able to find people, go to these national conferences, especially in industries that you're interested. Go to events like, go to an event from JCCCNC. I know Haruka puts a lot of events together that brings a lot of people together. And then you can find them on LinkedIn. So usually what happens is just start going up to people and to these events. And if you're someone who doesn't like doing that, go on social media. I think that's also another great way where you could connect with people where you have mutual connections with, and just introduce yourself, make a note. And other times, some people may be more comfortable with one-on-one. So you may be someone who knows someone that's in an industry that they're interested in. So just ask, hey, can you introduce me to this person? Or do you know anybody in that field? So a lot of times these relationships are organic, and it doesn't have to be people that are way, way, way high up. It could be people even a step or two away from you. So I have mentors and champions from all different fields. And I know it's really easier said than done, but the more that you do it, the easier it gets. And I saw there are some people on the chat box there that made comments. Okay. Okay, so volunteering is a great way. That's what someone said. Ex-coworkers, friends, Buddhist temple, networking organizations. Okay, go into LinkedIn. Okay, so this person has a really good idea around it. I need to go back to the previous slide. So I want to ask all of you, what are some ways that you have consistently keep in touch with people in your network, especially your mentors and champions? And how often should you reach out to them? Okay, someone said go visit in person once in a while. And someone says usually through texting. Okay, someone said commenting on their LinkedIn posts. Okay, checking Facebook Messenger. Okay, someone said, give a holiday card, go invite them for a cup of coffee to catch up, congratulate them on an accomplishment you hear. Yeah, these are really good examples. Like go to places like happy hour, check-ins as a group, and go to different events. Okay, send emails, especially when something interesting to them comes up. Yeah. All right. So I want to tell you this. I have kept in touch with all my bosses that I have consistently had great relationships with over the past 15 years. And I actually had phone conversations with 3 of them the past week. So a lot of times when you keep in touch with them, they actually really like it. I mean, here's the thing, as a former hiring manager and also someone who has worked with a lot of students, I love it when I get phone calls or emails or even texts from people telling me what they're up to and what they're doing. And here's also another thing. I especially love it when they tell me how I have made a great difference in their lives. All right, so that's a trick. Remember back what I told you, that we're human too, that we have feelings too. So, so I want to let you know, so don't feel like scared to contact them, especially if you want to stay in touch with them. A lot of times here's one thing I really don't like, is someone I haven't heard from 10 years, and then they call me up asking for a reference. All right, or a letter of recommendation, especially when I have no idea what they've been up to. Okay, because I'm gonna feel used. And I know I'm not the only person that feels that way, even though I may not say it. So the other day, I also got a reference call from someone that I don't remember the name. And then I had to tell this person that was doing a reference call, I'm gonna have to give you a call back later. Can I call you back tomorrow? So the whole evening, I was trying to figure out who this person was. And it turned out it was a former student from like 10 years ago. All right, and I don't really have I don't know what to say about this person, only like what I remembered of him from high school, right? And now he's in his late 20s. And I couldn't even find anything on social media. So this is why you need to keep consistently building relationships with people, your mentors and your champions and any of your support network, so that they'll be ready to support you. All right, so how often should you reach them? It depends on the relationship. So some of the people who are in like really high levels, some of them, I'm not gonna lie, they're politicians, they're really busy, or these are people that are responsible for thousands of people. I try not to bother them too much, but when I see them on social media, they are, I often respond if they post on things or let them know of different things. So, but I do actually give them a phone call or an email at least once a year. All right, so it's not like, so it's consistent. So try to find times in your own way of doing it. Like, I'm not you, you're not me, so do what works that you feel comfortable with. And you know that there are some people that would prefer emails, do emails, right? So you gotta really know who these people are. All right, let me know if there are any questions out there.
Hey, Tomoko, this is Haruka. I want you to be mindful of the clock. We actually only have half an hour left in the allotted time.
Okay, there's always so much to talk
we can
about.
go a little over, but not too much over.
Okay,
We want to be
all right.
respectful of everyone's time.
Okay, thank you so much for being my timekeeper. I do get really excited about sharing all this information with people. All right, so we're going to talk about building a reputation and also maintaining relationships, because you're online. The use of online these days is really important, and it's actually a really great way to keep in touch with people. So not only keeping in touch with people, but also building your credibility and your visibility. All right, so I want to ask all of you this. How does your online presence help you advance in your careers or expand your services? And this is whether be it LinkedIn, Facebook, I don't know, Instagram, Twitter, other social media sites that you might use. Yeah, use your chat box. Okay, someone says I could highlight your interest further. Someone says, for me, Twitter has been great in finding professionals who are one in my own field or fields that I would be interested in joining. Yeah, no, it's really great for those that are also looking for career transitions too. And also reach a wide variety of folks and companies you wouldn't normally be in. And someone said, sometimes I find people through social media. And someone says the ability to see who friends of friends are. And I keep certain media pretty separate from professional. Okay. Oh yeah, some people use social media sites, different ones, to separate their professional life and their personal life. I know some people do that too. Oh, and someone says that I give occasional updates or ask for help on projects in social media, which casts a wider net. Yeah, these are some really great ways. So I'm going to show you different ways to present yourself. I want to let you know that when you're applying for jobs, that it's a really good idea for you to see how your social media pages look, because a lot of hiring places, they're going to look you up. They're going to Google you. They're going to see what you're about, right? And it's also part of your reputation and what you're known for. So this is part of your homework. Go Google yourself, and then also check your social media pages that represent your best self, something that if something does happen and your images or your content goes out publicly, that you're going to be comfortable with it. Some places, like if you're going to be working in some places in the federal government, they might do an extensive search on you. So make sure whatever that you put out there that you're going to be very proud of. But there are other ways that social media really helps. So what's really great about social media is that people can look you up. So someone like me, I always get requests from people, hey, Tomoko, do you know someone who would be a really great fit for us for a program director or for an HR manager or a finance professional? So, usually what I do is I actually, on top of my head, I think of like 3 people. It's usually people that I have been in constant contact with. People who may be texting me all the time, and then good old social media, because when you post stuff on your news feed, I'm constantly reminded of you, all right? And also what you're about. So it's really important to know your audience and also who you want to cast your posts to. So I want to let you know, like with LinkedIn, it's a really great platform, especially the people that use a lot of recruiters, hiring managers, and professionals, especially those that have a lot of influence in their industry. Also, I noticed there are a lot of young people on there, and the young people that tend to be on there or those who are early in their careers, they tend to be the ones who are very dedicated to their profession and who are probably going to move up really quickly. So for those of you who are in the hiring positions, you might want to look up some of these young professionals or those that are early in their careers, because these are people who are already thinking about leadership and also honing into their professions. YouTube, everyone uses YouTube. So that's used by, and that casts a pretty wide net. Facebook, so I want to let you know about Facebook. It's usually people over the age of 35. Here's another thing, they tend to have higher income and higher education. So what that usually correlates to is a lot of these people have influence in the hiring process or are hiring managers in itself. So you want to think about how you might want to use Facebook if you're comfortable with it, to understand who these people are. And I know this because whenever I post stuff, and I have people of wide ages on my Facebook page, 9 out of 10 of them, it's usually people over the age of 35. Instagram. Most of the people that I see, of course, it's usually under the age of 35 too, but also I think more people are starting to use it. All right. Does anyone have any other questions or anything? So know your audience, know who use these platforms that you want to showcase to. All right, the first thing that I want to share with people is your profile photo, whether it's on Facebook or on LinkedIn. The first thing they're going to look at is they're going to look at your profile photo. So if you don't have a profile photo on there, you might want to put that on there, because when you do that, you're instantly connecting yourself to your audience. So when you don't have a photo on there, it's kind of makes you look a little shady, like you don't want to be found. And usually what I do is I ask people these questions, but I know that we're running a little bit out of time here. So what I know about with Elizabeth is that she has a bookcase behind her. What we know about her is she's going to marketing communications. And what I could tell is she's also a really good writer. So it just also showcases her talents here, what her interests are. So people are going to notice that. But when they see a background photo like that, they also notice that she's with it with the times. All right. Did I see someone in the chat box? All right. So she did a really good job with her with her header, but also her profile photo. She looks open. She looks friendly. She looks like someone I would want to go and have coffee with. All right. And then it just shows what her interests are in the back, which gives a really good idea. Okay, so I want to also showcase Steven Terasaki, and he is a phenomenal person. So people think LinkedIn is a job hunting site. It's actually a lot more than that. It's actually a way for you to build relationships and also showcase talent. But a lot of people put articles on there and also show the latest trends and best practices for different industries. And what I like about Steven's profile photo is he's also UC Berkeley alumnus. So whenever I meet alumni from the same college, especially UC Berkeley, there's this instant connection. I don't know what it is, but I know that he's really involved with the UC Berkeley community. So Steven Terasaki has years and years of experience being in C-level positions, executive positions in corporations. And he has a lot of experience. And these days, he's also a business coach. So he trains and coaches and helps a bunch of CEOs and executives and people in startups from all over the place. So he's uses his practice and his leadership skills that's going to really support all these businesses that are around. And what I like about his background photo is that he's also someone who serves as a bridge. I remember having coffee with him, and it just seems like everyone knows him, right? But he's really great at connecting with people. And another thing that you might want to notice that people are going to look at is how many people that you're connected with. See, like how Steven has more than 500 plus connections. So it shows also just the level of people that he may know in the different industries. All right, I really like this one. This is Julie Samiki. Julie is an insurance agent for State Farm. And thing is, there are a lot of insurance agents out there, but thing is, in reality, people, when they go to Julie, it's because of Julie. So when they see State Farm, they also, sometimes they may associate with a certain agent. So one thing I like about Julie is she's really great with social media. She also represents State Farm, but she also has her own flair with it. So whenever I see her in booths, she always puts treats out. She makes her booths always look really nice and friendly. And she's always out in the community. So sometimes when I see State Farm, I always think of her. Because the thing is, she's her. You know, she made a brand for herself. And if you're someone who's a CEO or someone who started organizations, having your company logo is a really great way for you to continue expanding your brand. All right, let's go to LinkedIn really quickly. Actually, did anyone have any questions about the profile photo? And okay, so I want to let you know, look at all your social media sites and especially check the background photo on there because it just makes it a lot more complete. All right, and I want to let you know for a lot of those social media sites, this is also part of first impressions or second impressions, especially if you're not meeting people in person, but they can look you up. So you already made an impression on people based on what your platform looks like. So thing about with LinkedIn, I know I said before, it's a really great way to build relationships. So these days we don't keep our business cards around, you know, and the thing is LinkedIn is kind of like your modern day Rolodex of business cards. So you can stay connected with people, but also instantly connect with them through Messenger and also comment on the posts that they provide or know of different updates, like if they got a promotion or if they changed positions or if they even made a career transition to a different industry. So you'll find out all about them. And then another thing I like is some people have been posting when they've lost their jobs or also if there has been other career changes that happen in their lives. I noticed that there are a bunch of interns that all of a sudden their internships were taken away for the summer. So I saw a bunch of them posting their situation, and guess what? I saw so many of their responses and posts from other people saying, email me, I might have a position for you. All right, so you never know. And so, I mean, it has to be based on your comfort level on this. So yeah, so I use LinkedIn for several years, and I've had a lot of really great connections through that way. All right, so I want to show you what a really great LinkedIn profile looks like. So this is Jason New. So I don't know what I would say about Jason. He's just a really talented person. He's really great at making films, but he's really good at also recording and televising different events that take place or programming. And I know that he's really talented. And so I want to show him, he has a really great story on his LinkedIn profile, but what I really liked is his LinkedIn header here with his really nice professional profile photo. And I want to let you know, you don't need to have a professional profile photo taken. You could go outside and take a nice photo of yourself, all right? Because people are really looking for authenticity. And it just shows Jason just really enjoying what he does. And see that really nice smile there. And then he also has more than 500 connections. So I want to let you know, Jason's probably been using LinkedIn for a long time. So if you just started, you're, you know, don't worry how many contacts that you've had on there. And Jason and I, we have 35 mutual connections. So it just shows how small our world is. And the internet makes it, you realize how small the world is and how much more connected we actually are. So the summary is a really important part here. You want to share who you are, what you're about, and where you're going. So he talks a lot about his different skills on how he has made an impact. And you can also look up Jason New probably and find his summary, but that's what a lot of us look at. We look first at his summary. And then when and then this is one with a student. This is Tom Bowie, who I talked about earlier. When you're a student, you want to talk about where you've been, like what are the skills that you have and where you're going. So she's looking to hopefully become a software engineer one day. And this is going to be recorded, so you could have time to read this over a lot more quick with your own time. And this is someone from a managerial perspective, what he enjoys doing, what he's about, and where he's specialized in, that he makes a really huge impact. And Hong Thatch is someone who's responsible for bringing money and sponsorships for the Oakland schools. And he's phenomenal at it. And another feature with LinkedIn is there's a featured site where you can showcase, you can attach different documents, photos, or even websites. So Jason has his own website because he has his own business where he actually creates films and also shows his portfolio of the different work that he does. That gives people a better idea where his talents are. And he's also was part of a video, made a video that was put on YouTube. So you want to showcase these things. And then you want to also talk about your experience. So I want to let you know your experience is not a resume, but it gives people a picture of who you are and also the impact that you have made. And you have an area where you could post photos or a website of the company. And I also put another experience with him with his work with his own business in media production. And then you want to put your licenses and certifications. So even if you have a CPR license, put it on there because it could be really useful one day. And then your volunteer experience. So if you serve on the board, or if you are part of different organizations, or if you hold leadership positions in the community, put it on there because it gives people a better idea of who you are and what you really care about. And then your skills. You want to know what your top 3 skills here. See, Jason's top 3 skills are video production, Adobe Creative Suite, and Premiere Pro. So it shows his technical skills. But he actually has like 40 or 50 other skills listed on there where I didn't really have space to put it there, but that's what you want to do. People will see your different skills, whether or not it's related to your career. This is really about showing your authentic self. You're also going to want to have recommendations and testimonials. And I want to share with you, especially among minority communities. I don't see this very often on LinkedIn. This is an area that I see a lot of people missing. And from someone from a managerial position or in their life, you want people to talk about your reputation, how you add value to the industry. And this Rebecca Hopkins was Hong's boss at that time, and she gave an excellent recommendation where she put a lot of thought into it. So here's another great one with Tan Bui. Tan Bui is a computer science student, and so her boss, Brandon Yanari, wrote a really heartfelt recommendation that's listed on LinkedIn. And so it talks about her skills and how she has impacted the Southeast Asian American Student Excellence Committee, but also program, and how she has helped a lot of students, but also her technical skills. So people can see how other people who write these recommendations really feel about this person and are genuine about it. Another thing about social media is thought leadership. So it's not enough to have a profile page. You actually need to keep posting things on or commenting. So here are some areas that you could do that shows your visibility. Like Tan here, she was selected to attend a national conference that she actually spoke at, which was really phenomenal. And so she shared her experience at Asian Pacific Americans in Higher Education Conference. And she posted about her experience there, but she also showed appreciation, and she tagged a bunch of people on there. And not just tagging them, she also used hashtags. So, which she was promoting all these different organizations. So she showed appreciation on there. So another thing that Tan and I did, so that's a photo of me right there with Tan. We actually created a video together. Actually, Jessica created a video for us, and we posted it on our social media. So it was encouraging people to come to our LinkedIn workshop, which she actually did a lot of the leading in. Another thing, okay, so I want to let you know, you don't have to, you want to be your authentic best self. So that's why I'm showcasing Haruka on here. So thing about Haruka is he's unique. He's someone that makes people laugh, but every time he posts things, it's very thought-provoking, and it's always something memorable, right? That gets people to want to come to all his different things. Haruka is really known for bringing in large followings. And a lot of it's not because of just these organizations, which they're amazing at, but it's really because of who he is and what he stands for. And people like to be around his energy and the work that he does. So he's someone who is, brings his unique way of bringing people about. And that's what I like about him. So, and, when I see these things, it makes me smile. It makes me want to be part of whatever it is that he's part of and leading. And also for him to also promote different events that he's supporting the different communities. So we see the karaoke online here during shelter in place. And then also him hosting the Next Generation Nikkei Fund at the JCCCNC. So, and then Jason New, like he has his website that he created that actually shows his portfolio on here. So he's able to post that in different areas of social media so people have a better sense of who he is. Also, Jessica Aiden Lee, she is someone who actually created, she wrote articles, and when she wrote articles, it actually got picked up by Ariana Huffington from the Huffington Post. And so she got a lot more people reading this. So you never know who's looking at your stuff and who's following, which is really phenomenal because next week, she's actually doing a webinar on how to network as an introvert. So this is information. I know when Haruka sends out this recording, you could probably contact Jessica Lee about this. Right, really quickly. All right, resume. All right, I want to just a few quick things. Your email address. I recommend you having a Gmail account. And when you're submitting your resume, it just shows that you're up to the date with the times on here, right? If you use Yahoo or Hotmail, it's about 20, 30 years old, all right? So you wanna be current. Phone number, make sure, check your voicemail message on your phone when people leave messages. You want to have your own voice. You want something like, hello, you have reached a voicemail of Tomoko Ha. I'm not available right now. Please leave your name, your number, and a brief message, and I look forward to speaking with you when I return your call. Okay, when hiring managers or people that are calling to set up an interview with you, when they get an automated message, they might not know whether it's you, right? So part of that is also your second or third impression that they have of you. Put your LinkedIn profile on your resume. And if you are in the creative field or someone that develops products, you might want to put a URL of your professional portfolio. Another thing that you want to talk about with your resume is to highlight what you're known for and your skills that makes you stand out. And if you need help with that, you could contact me. Also on your resume, not so much put your tasks, but more focus on your accomplishments that are aligned with what the job description for the job that you're applying for is looking for. All right, so those are things that I told you. And also some industries, they may need cover letters, others they may not. So this is why it's really important that you have relationships and build relationships to ask those questions, because no two companies, even within the same industry, are alike. Interview. Okay, these are like the basic questions. You might want to look at 14 different questions. I recommend that you write them out yourself. For each job, it's going to be different. It has to be aligned with the job description and what the company is looking for. You want to think about why is this company hired? Why is this role really important for this company? And what are the goals for this company where this position can help fulfill? And all these questions here, you might want to answer it based on that. And also, I specialize with interview questions. That's one of my coaching services. So if you need help with it, let me know. But I spend many hours on interview questions. I write it out and I also practice. So I can monitor how it sounds and comes across. So know your why. Know why they're hiring. Know why this position is critical for the company and its goals. And also you want to research your potential managers, their experience. This is why LinkedIn is really important. Or Google them and see what their focus is. All right, so we have a webinar that's coming up next Thursday. So that's actually towards the end of my presentation. So I'm in a webinar with Stephen Terasaki that you saw his profile photo earlier, and Jessica Lee, who wrote the article on networking for introverts. We're gonna have a webinar next Wednesday. So if you're thinking about hiring a hiring coach, whether it's a business coach or an executive coach, this will be a really great way for you to learn more about what we do. All right, so thank you, everybody.
So Tomoko, it looks like there were a few questions in the chat box. One is related to Facebook, specifically asking about what kind of education details can you put on Facebook? I guess maybe broadly speaking, we can expand the question to how much information should people put on Facebook with regards to like their careers. So that's one. I'll let you answer that before I move on to the other question.
Like how much, you should probably put whatever that you're comfortable with that's going to represent your best self. So like on can you repeat that question?
Sure. So the question was, how much personal information should you put on Facebook with regards to one's career search? And how much education information can you put on Facebook if you know the answer to that?
Okay, all right. So one of the things that people ask about that is when it comes to your experience, so for graduating from different colleges, you don't need to put what year you graduated. And usually I actually recommend that you don't put what year you graduate, just to prevent ageism. And it's ageism from people thinking you're too young, or people think that you're too old, or you might probably have kids or get married, or they have all these different scenarios. So that's one thing that I recommend. You leave off when you graduated, unless you're still in school, that shows when you're anticipating graduation. So I believe you put out there whatever you're most comfortable with. I do want to share with you, if you're someone who has a job right now and you are working on your LinkedIn profile, if you do everything drastically, people will might automatically think that you're looking for a job. So you could be wanting to do things gradually, unless you probably post that you actually went to a workshop on how to upgrade your LinkedIn profile and how excited you are. You know, so it's a way of how you go about doing that. But I do want to let you know, every time you make a change on LinkedIn, people will notice. Also on Facebook.
So Tomoko, to expand on that person's question,
Uh-huh.
it looks like they're being restricted from listing all of their educational qualifications, like postgraduate degrees and things like that, on Facebook. So maybe you can talk on about like the difference between, you know, representing yourself on Facebook versus LinkedIn, you know, the sort of differentiation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thing is with Facebook, you could use it for a lot of different things. So a lot of Facebook, it's really a lot more of who you are holistically. It's also how you want to present yourself on there. So you got to go back to who your target audience is, right? So if you're posting all these graduate degrees, I don't think LinkedIn would restrict you on that. They actually welcome more of that. So I think on Facebook, however you want to present yourself, do which one. I recommend the ones that represent you best. You don't have to put everything, but what you want to highlight. And if you need help with that, you could contact me. All right, what else?
So Tomoko, there was another question about using one's college email address.
Okay.
Is that appropriate to use in a job search? So talking about a .edu domain name in their
Okay,
email.
I think for many people, they'll know that either you're going to be a alumnus or alumni of that college. So if it's highly recognized, so there might be an affinity. Otherwise, on the safe bet, use a Gmail.
I think this question applies more for someone who is either like a recent college graduate or someone who's about to graduate.
Okay, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't see any problem. I don't see much of a problem with that either. For that, because it just shows that they're either graduated from that college. What I'm trying to get people to avoid is put hugs and kisses forever at yahoo.com. Okay, like that's not an email that you should be seeing. All right, any other questions? I actually love how people are posting on the chat box here. I want to let you all know that your career it's continuous, right? And a lot of people I work with these days, I've worked with them past 15 years, so you never know who's going to come and go in your projects. So that's why the online presence is a really great way to keep connected. Of course, not everyone likes doing it, so there are other ways you can still keep in touch in person, which if you're better at that, I'm actually really impressed with you if you're able to do that. So do what works for you. Okay, these are just tools that I'm giving everyone that's going to help. But overall, it's also about your comfort level and especially online, how much information that you want to put out in the universe. What are some key things that people learned today that stood out? I know we're going a little bit over time, but if some people have time to answer that, put that on the chat box. Okay. All right, someone said I should email my mentors. Okay, that's a really great thing. I liked about turning your camera on during meetings. Stephen, if I'm missing any of these, can you point that out too? Difference between, they like the difference between champions and mentors, and more information about LinkedIn and impressions on social media. Being mindful of your presence while on Zoom, yeah. Oh, someone asked, my work seemed to have developed a habit of people not turning their cameras on. So I'm not sure how to go about changing the culture. I mean, here's one thing that I always say in front of my workshops. You know, it'll be helpful if you're comfortable to turn on your camera. This way, it actually makes me feel a lot more connected with you when we speak. I know shelter in place is really difficult, and with many of us not seeing each other, so this is a really great way of substituting that for the time being. Because sometimes people don't realize, you know, that, you know, they need more connection. So it says, okay, someone said, I want my students to not only work on their interview questions, but their elevator pitch. Who am I? When simply networking. And you know what? That's a really great exercise to have. And really the whole thing about building a reputation and what you stand for and what you're known for and standing out, that's also part of your elevator pitch. Okay, so someone liked keeping up communication with references and mentors. Yeah, someone said, what do you want to, they like the what do you want to be known for question as a way of approaching them. Yeah. All right, these are really great things out there. I want to show people my contact information. So you can email me, you could call me. Yes, I actually answer calls. You could text me. You can also find me on Facebook or even on LinkedIn. I know a few of you already are connected with me on LinkedIn. On my social media, you'll continue seeing different pitches. Or not different pitches, but different tips on how to support your career. And it doesn't matter whether you're job hunting or you just want to improve in what you're doing today. All right, well, I want to thank Haruka here and Stephen for all your help with the webinar today. And I also want to thank all of you for coming here on a Saturday morning to come to this webinar. I want to tell you this, you're already, people who tend to succeed in life in their careers, they actually do the extra to continue improving themselves. Most people just go on with their day job and that's it, right? So for those of you that are taking on additional ways to continue with your professional development, that's how you're going to continue to grow. So I wanted to give you, I don't know, y'all pat yourself on the back for being here. And I also want to wish all the moms out there, the mom figures out there, a happy Mother's Day. You all deserve something special tomorrow. All right, thank you, everybody.
Great. Thanks so much, Tomoko. Again, for folks who have, you know, additional questions coming out of this session, we will be following up with everyone with a brief questionnaire just so you can give feedback, but also it'll give you guys an opportunity to submit any additional questions that we can pass on to Tomoko that she might be able to help you out with as well. But in any case, on behalf of the Japanese Cultural and Community Center of Northern California, Nakayoshi Young Professionals, and the Japanese American Citizens League, we want to thank Tomoko for presenting here today and every one of you for being here and taking part. So thanks very much, everyone.
All right, thank you. All right.
Okay, I'm going to end the meeting.
All right, bye, Haruka.
Bye.
Bye, Stephen, thank you.